Hey friends, my name's Mitch, and this is my review of Action Ardennes by John Butterfield and Compass Games. Compass Games is really coming out with a lot of great stuff. So this comes with 3 modes. You have the Allied Solo with a 70-page book, 2-player with a 50-ish page book, and German Solo with a 65-page book. Obviously, lots of overlap in between these for the rules, but it is nice that I can just grab the dedicated book for what I need instead of other games where you'll have a general rule book and then a specific book for the scenario or a specific game book, right? They'll ship you the general rules and you got to read another rules. So it's nice to pick up one. This is my rule set for what I want to do, so I like that. Comes with 3 maps and lots of handouts. Maps are large and colorful, and I really like the maps, as well as the cheat sheets. I like that you have cheat sheets for the specific thing you're doing. So Allied Solo will have their own cheat sheet, so it's clearly marked. German Solo will have their own cheat sheet, etc. Then also you have the common ones between the solos, common ones with a card reference and things like that. So it is card activation, meaning if you're itching to activate the first SS Panzer Corps, then you're going to have to wait for a card in order to do it. The cards do have great stuff like Activate Everybody, but there's also cards that only activate a few units, and of course you can activate any one unit. I'm not sure how useful that is. I guess given the situations, if you have one unit somewhere and you need to activate them, that's kind of cool. So it is standard war game chits. You have steps, you have your attack, you have your unit marking, and you have your movement allowance. Now, the game is super easy to set up. And I know there's been some reviews about the game's hard to set up. Let me tell you my system. So on the actual chit, you'll have the location on the map that it goes. For example, this one here, as you can see, is 2106 on the right-hand side here, 2106. So this is 2106, meaning you're going to put it on the 2106 hex. If it's a reserve, on the actual hex, it'll tell you what day it comes in. For example, this is the 21st. So this chit comes in on the day 21. So everything is marked, meaning it's easy to find it. So here's my organizational method. The top third I will put into a dedicated slot, right, in the tray. Middle will be another dedicated one, and the bottom will be yet another dedicated one. So when I go to set up, I know I'm going to pull it out of here, and I already know where it goes, the number, and I know about the location where that number is located. In other words, I don't have to scan the whole map and determine all this stuff. I pull it, I place it, it's quick. 10 minutes you can get pretty much the whole thing. For reserves, the 16th goes here, the 17th goes here, and you don't really have to lay them out like this if you're doing that system, right? So you know the day 17 rolls around, I'm going to pick up my tray, and I'm going to pull all these units, and I'm going to put them in the reserve pile for the individual factions, right? So it's super quick and simple since I don't have to lay this section out, and I already know sort of the quadrant that everything goes. You can get everything set up fairly quickly. So then you obviously organize your cards by day and things like that. So very easy to set up. The second thing that I like, and let's talk 2-player here, is I like the ability to explain this. All the fiddly rules are something that you can just have memorized, and you don't really need to rule spam the other guy. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times you'll sit down and the first half hour is just you spamming rules that person's never going to remember. So all the fiddly rules in this, like German's not moving on the 16th, air power coming in later in the game, you know, all the rules where the Germans start running out of fuel, supply, and things like that. You can do that in your head on the board and let the other player know. You don't have to just spam rules. So you just tell them, hey, movement, you know, movement allowance, attack allowance, this is green, this is elite, whatever. And then when he goes to do combat, you can tell him how many chits to draw and explain it on the way. It's not a beginning rules spam, which is absolutely terrible because you're sitting there, you're not going to remember any of this. So you can just tell them the simple rules, get them going, set it up, and the other person's happy. And then as you play, start, you know, introducing this and that. Hey, can't use air power yet. You know, you'll see it's in red. It comes on the 20th, whatever. So I like that. I think it's a great two-player game from the setup and from the rules being easy to explain. So top-notch two-player, definitely something I want to pick up, take to a meetup, and get somebody interested, get them addicted to this, right? I mean, obviously there's probably better games like, I don't know, a bunch of other better games that we can play. Some with miniatures maybe, the war, that'll get people interested. Axis and Allies is a bit much, but, you know, a bunch of other games. But I like this game. It's nice and simple if you're just going a hex and counter type game. So that's what I like. So the only issue I think that I have is, well, two issues. One is we have useless chits that are in the cup at the beginning of the game. It seems like, to me, again, just my opinion, that some chits should not be introduced into the game until later. For example, this chit here is German air power, which is completely unavailable on the 16th. On the back is Allied air power, which again is completely unavailable on the 16th. And yet, they're in the cup on the 16th. So you've just wasted a chit. And there's a lot of instances to where I've pulled a bunch of chits. I'm not saying that the cup is full of these. I'm just saying that it seems to me like air power and things that don't apply at this particular round or particular activation day should not be there. So I've sort of house ruled it to where I pulled out things that I don't want to be there on the first day. Like, again, this is just opinionated, like 9 to 1. I'm just not going to run into a situation where I have 9 to 1 on the first day. German air power, I'm not going to run into that first day, etc. So I pulled a few of these out, and again, just my personal opinion, that I don't want to waste space. And that's basically what happens, is it wastes space. So let me tell you why and what happens, to me at least. Because it's card-based activation, you'll come in and you'll have this particular core, right, the Panzer Corps. You haven't seen this card in 2 activations. I mean, this is the first time you've actually been able to use this unit, these units. You're all excited. The units are gathering around. I'm getting those guys and those guys and those guys, and I'm gathering for the biggest flank attack of the decade. I pull a bunch of chits, and the dude takes 1 damage or something. I mean, you know, exaggerated, but he'll take almost no damage. He'll retreat twice, be dispersed, whatever. I don't know. I guess I expected more. I expected more beef. And you'll have other activations to where you only have, let's say, 3 units, but they're really good units, they're elite or whatever. You pull 4 chits, and 3 of the chits don't apply. You're down to 1 last chit, and its attacker takes the damage. So, I mean, I have like, that's irritating to me. I have 4 elite tanks, and I took a damage, and he took no damage. You know, I know random is random, so deal with it. I guess I'm just not acclimated to come into that situation from other games, like Unconditional Surrender, for example. I know a unit's there. I know what the unit can do. I have 4 elite tanks. Well, not elite in that game. Well, I have 4 tanks. I know I have air power. I know sort of what's going to happen. There's some predictability in it. And I can understand the unpredictability of pulling chits. That's fine. But if this is the only opportunity I have to do this unit for a while, I'd like to make use of them and see something happen. And seeing a bunch of non-actions, I guess, is frustrating. So I guess that's my only beef with the game. The setup is so beautiful. The ease of once you get rolling and once you start, knowing the game, it's not that fiddly. And the stuff that's fiddly is doesn't apply like after the first day. A lot of the stuff is fiddly on the first day, and things like that. So I really like the game. I really like the game. Again, and I know we had plenty of people already mentioned that the chits are thin. I mean, they are thinner than what you get in like a DBG game or something like that, but they're not just unmanageable. I really haven't. It really hasn't bothered me since I started playing. It doesn't affect gameplay. That's what I'm saying. So the chit thickness doesn't affect gameplay. I think it's all right. I think my other gripe, as every other reviewer you've seen, you have a blown bridge, and the marker is so huge that it's hard to get a units in there unless you just jam them like that. So what I've started doing, instead of putting a blown bridge marker because it's so large, is I'll just use I'll just spill everything everywhere. I'll just use a red piece, red bead or something like that to indicate a blown bridge. So you'll see red beads here and there, and that indicates a blown bridge. I found it easier. It's small. It's easy to manage. So overall, I really like this game. Going to give it a, I don't know, 9.5 out of 10. Such a fantastic game, and I'm really pleased with almost everything about it. I can see myself putting this on the table quite a bit. So overall, it does cost a bit. If you can get it on sale, highly recommended. The full retail price is ridiculous. Don't pay that. You can get it on sale plenty of other places. So definitely pick this one up, especially if you're into solo games. You really can't go wrong with this. You're probably going to have, obviously, a day or so reading up on the rules and getting everything down. But there's so many familiar things within the game. For example, you have standard combat points, standard movement. You have standard step size reduction. A lot of things. Victory points. You have reserves coming in on certain days. All of this is going to be very familiar. So half of the rules or more are going to be already known if you've played any war games before. So again, highly recommended. Pick it up. Excellent game that is Enemy Action Ardennes. Thank you for joining me today, and pick this up. You will really enjoy it.